Alright, let me keep talking about what I was gonna say. Yeah, I would say try to be careful about where you choose to go to school, where to live. Because in my case, um, it's not that I didn't want to go to Irvine for school. Um, but you know, if you also live in California, chances are your high school probably has some kind of like baked in programs to help people go to school, right? To go to UC schools or CSU schools, California State schools. So I kind of had a lot of options available to me to go to school, but I just didn't really know what schools might be best for me. Um, can never really know until you get there and you have the clarity of hindsight. To be honest with you, but basically for me, in my experience, my high school gave waivers, application waivers to certain people based on like their academic performance or if they signed up for the waivers by a certain time or something like that. I got one. I was able to apply to 4 California schools for free. They're usually like $70 or something per school to apply, $80. I was able to apply to 4 of them for free, which is really nice, and I took advantage of that. I applied to Irvine, Riverside, LA, and Berkeley. Then any other school I applied to, I believe, was either free or they gave me a waiver, or I somehow got a waiver for that, or maybe I had a budget or something. I can't really remember. I applied to those 4 UC schools that I got a waiver for. I applied to Cal State San Diego. No, San Diego State University. Sorry. San Diego State. Redlands University, the private university. And maybe one other one that I can't remember. Yeah, I applied to those 4 UC schools, Riverside, Irvine, Berkeley, and LA. I got denied from all of them except Riverside and Irvine. I got accepted to San Diego State, and I got denied from Redland. And the only reasons why I really applied for those ones instead of any other ones was because of the popularity of LA and Berkeley. Of course, who doesn't want to go to LA or Berkeley, right? Irvine, I think because it was next to the beach. And Riverside because it was close to home. I would have done San Diego, or University of San Diego, UCSD, University of California, San Diego, because of the beach and because of how nice I've heard San Diego is. But I've heard from some people that their music program isn't the best. I said, okay, it's between this and Irvine. I'll just go to Irvine. But like I said, I didn't actually apply for that. I applied for San Diego State and Redlands. For Redlands and San Diego State, I did tuba, so cello. I applied on tuba, and I got accepted at San Diego State for tuba. So it was between Irvine on cello and San Diego State on tuba. Because I figured at this point, if I'm already accepted to the schools, why go to Riverside when I can go to Irvine, right? If I wanted to go to Riverside, I could just stay at home and do that, but I kind of wanted to move out of home, so I said, either going to be Irvine or San Diego. And what was the deciding factor for me for Irvine was the fact that the cello teacher in Irvine personally invited me for a one-on-one lesson in her apartment with my parents. I say one-on-one, it was with my parents, so not really one-on-one, but Um, yeah, I did my audition, and if I'm being honest with you, I thought I bombed completely because before college I'd never taken any lessons in music. I relied completely on my training from my high schools, or from my high school and the public ensembles that I was in, community ensembles. So no private training. See the poetry page over there. And, you know, of course, because of that, I had no idea what to expect for an audition. I'd never really been to a for an audition like that, so I didn't really know what to expect. I was nervous. I realized it was kind of a turning point in my life. I said, if I don't prepare for this and kind of nail it, then I'm kind of screwed. I just don't get to go to college. And I realized, you know, college is competitive. There's plenty of people who do have lessons. There are some people there at the audition who brought their teachers with them. So I was like, oh my god, I'm screwed. Will have their teachers with them. But for whatever reason, the teacher saw some kind of potential or something like that, and decided to invite me to her apartment for a kind of lesson and kind of discuss my options. And she said, I want you at the school. I'm going to accept you into the cello program here. So if you get accepted into, you know, UCI academically, you can join the program. It's not a problem. I would be one of her students. Or, you know, like I said, if I wanted to go to San Diego State, I could go there, which also seemed like a good option to me because it's near the beach, and I got accepted for music, just for tuba, not for cello. Would I rather play cello or tuba in college? And I said cello, you know, because of mobility. It's easier to carry around a cello than a tuba, and because at that point it was cheaper to buy my own cello than buy a tuba. My family already bought me a cello, so I said, okay, I'll just take the cello and I'll go to Irvine, especially because, like I said, the teacher, you know, I talked with the teacher personally, so I felt like that was the right choice at the time. But story, I say the story because even though that was good for me and that, you know, I made the choice myself, I still didn't really know what I was getting into because I didn't know really anything about participating in music beyond just being in band or orchestra like that. Like I said, I've never been in lessons, I've never been in any professional ensembles, I've never taught, I've never worked in like a music store or anything like that. So that, on top of the fact that I've never been to Irvine and I don't know how the community is there, I didn't know how the music program was there, and all that stuff. I thought it was a good choice for me to go to Irvine because I'd met the cello teacher, you know, which maybe is not like the worst idea in the world. But I still wish I would have done some more research so I had a better idea of what I was doing. I might have honestly chosen San Diego State if I knew better. I feel like the music program in Irvine, I don't want to throw shade, because I don't think it's a bad music program. I think the teachers are doing good work over there. The professors are doing good work. But I feel like other UC schools just have a bit more developed of a program. And San Diego State, I hear, also has a bit bigger of a program. So I said, I'll go to Irvine, but now I almost wish I went to a different school, like Riverside or San Diego State. So, moral of the story is, I say all that long-winded story say, if you're going to college, you have a few schools picked out. I would advise you, as someone who's gone through the entire process, to go do some research and make sure you know what you're doing, because especially if you're moving out of town or out of state, once you move, that's kind of it. You could always move back home, you know, not like stuck there forever. You could always move back home if you really have to. But, you know, who wants to spend the money and the time to do all of that to move out, just to move back in and quit school, like, not even a year into your studies, you know? That's just kind of a sucky situation. So yeah, I would say do your research, make sure you know what you're doing, and, you know, just, I don't know, just take it seriously, I guess. Like I said, if I would have known the difference between like Riverside's music program and Irvine's music program, I might have chosen Riverside, to be honest with you. I appreciate going to Irvine, still a university, and still, you know, of that caliber, so I do appreciate being there, sure. But it's just, you know, it's just sad that I didn't get to finish. Not yet. So, I guess you can use my story as a kind of, I don't know, a warning for all of those who might be going into school, I guess. Okay, well, that's kind of a long-winded section there. I didn't mean to really talk for so long about something so serious. I don't know. Go to school. Go have fun. Not really the end of the world. It might feel like it. Probably does feel like it. But it's not the end of the world. Have fun. Do your research. Go to a school you like. I realize, like, now I realize Irvine is kind of more of a business school and a science school than an arts school. I mean, we have arts programs, but it's really more of a biology, chemistry, that kind of thing, than anything else. So yeah, I don't know. Just do some research. Do at least more than I did. You should be okay. Looks like we're done with this area. I think we still do need to find a couple dice. Yeah, we still need to find 4 more dice, but we have everything else done. So I'll go ahead and call that a day on Crackmast Cove, because I don't really want to go back and find 4 more dice in this whole area. It's like a lot to do. So I'll save that for another time. I'm gonna go head back to Brighthoof and sell some stuff, create our storage slots if we have enough money, and then I'm gonna call that a day and stream. Yeah. Be curious though what I mean when I say the arts programs, you know, in Irvine versus Riverside. Again, it's really for California viewers. If you're not in California, you probably don't really know what I'm talking about. But you're likely familiar with the schools if you're in California. Riverside, if you live in California, you know Riverside is kind of the butt of a lot of jokes, unfortunately, because it's one of the, I guess, less well-funded schools. Like, you know, LA and Berkeley are kind of like the top of the UC schools. Um, while Riverside and like Merced are towards the bottom. Um, academically, I guess you could say. Um, that isn't really to say anything about their cities that they're in or their culture or, you know, like specific programs that each of them have. This is kind of a broad statement. Say students who go to LA generally receive better grades than any other school. Like, I don't know, good for you. Um, I think I kind of fell for that a little bit. I kind of believed Irvine would be better because they have a generally higher GPA than Riverside. But I had an ex girlfriend that went to Riverside for music as well. She did violin, cello, composition, I think. And she went to Riverside because she did not get accepted to Irvine. She was going to go to Irvine, live together, possibly, and go to school. But she didn't get accepted for whatever reason. She got accepted to Riverside, and she did well there. She graduated and everything. Um, but I think it seemed like she had more fun than I did in Irvine, to be honest. There was a lot more variety when it came to different music programs. In Irvine, typically you only have orchestra, concert band, jazz band, and choir. Maybe a few one-off groups here that students themselves will form under the guidance of like a professor or something like that, like independent study. Um, but Riverside has like all of that plus student ensembles, kind of a similar thing, plus like an opera group, um, a composition program which Irvine does not have, um, music education which Irvine does not also have, or also does not have, a taiko drum program which we don't have in Irvine. Taiko drums, like the Japanese drums that you hit with the big sticks. Um, a bagpipe ensemble, I think, or something like that. Something similar to that. Um, I think just a lot more ensembles and variety when it comes to that stuff. So, you know, I think if it were up to me, I would have gone to Riverside instead of Irvine, especially if I would have known, you know, my partner at the time ended up attending Riverside a couple years later. Um, yeah, I don't know. I went to Irvine straight out of high school, and she went to community college for a few years and transferred. I couldn't have known that she would have went to Riverside instead of Irvine at the time. Let's see, I've got a few more legendaries here to look at. I got a new shield. Bronco Buster of the Swift. Got a low capacity but a fast recharge rate. Resistance to shock damage, it looks like. After this, everything will be more fuss. Health regenerates while ward is full. 10% movement speed while ward is full. Interesting, but it has such a low capacity, though. I mean, we'll try it. I feel like this... There has to be more than this than meets the eye, right? It's a legendary. Gotta be something about it that makes it legendary, I think. Inflammation, can get rid of that. I thought I sold that already, but I might have. Well. Oh, well, gone now. Dang. Alright. I must have picked up some other spell. Sold it by accident. I meant to sell this one. I don't really want the flamethrower one anymore. I do quite like this jelly cube spell. And we also got this. This armor set. Oh, the Dragger's warped paradigm of the Death Speaker. Berserker power and Graveborn powers. Neither are mine. Okay. Can you tell? Can you still tell apart reality from fiction? Faster ward regeneration, or less delay, I guess, so it recharges quicker. Extra companion damage, extra spell critical chance. Melee damage and ability damage are increased by 35% of your spell damage. Huh. Seems really solid, actually. I have increased movement speed, increased gun damage, increased critical spell chance. Increase fire damage by 10% for each unique enemy hit for a second. A big boost to fire damage, basically. Huh, I don't know. These both seem pretty solid. This would work with our shield, because it would just make it regenerate that much quicker. To be fair, we would get more movement speed out of this armor set. This gives us 20% by default, while this is only 10% when it's full. We also get gun damage from this. Don't get from this. We get companion damage, which I guess is straight off there. Spell critical chance is cool, and you know melee damage and ability damage are cool. But I feel like fire damage is also really nice because it helps out with Wyvern. You know, we don't get a boost on the mushroom guy from this armor set here. But we do get fire boost on the Wyvern on this one. So honestly, I think I might want to keep this one on. You get higher movement speed and just a big gun damage boost we don't get from this one. If this one were to boost the power of our skills, we might want to put that on, but it doesn't, so I don't think we really need it, to be honest. I'm gonna pick up this lost loot here. Go ahead and go to the blacksmith. Yeah, man. Again, I would say I mostly enjoyed university. Like I said, the school was mostly a business and science-oriented school, so it was kind of a bit more serious than something like music or, you know, art. I think the school still has good programs and good students and good professors. All the theater programs I've been to have been nice. I wish I went to more of the visual art shows. Every music show I've been to out there has been nice. And they actually have a really good theater that a lot of professionals just go to normally, so. No, I think they still got it. Like, they still got something there for sure. But honestly, I don't know. I think Riverside might be that next level for artists. It's just that much better of a community, at least from what I've seen. I can't say for sure. It just seems that way. I'll never know. I couldn't even go to Riverside now if I wanted to. I have to finish out my credits at Irvine at this point, so kind of stuck there. But yeah, thanks for listening to my story. A bit sad, but you know I'm fine here. I still practice music on my own. You'll see that on the channel. So yeah, see it a little bit this week, or I think you just saw it last week. I don't know. I can't remember when these videos are going up. So yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll see you tomorrow. If you're watching on Twitch, I will see you on Thursday. Facecam's back. Hopefully the weather clears up a little bit so it's a bit brighter in my room. And I will be switching to a new streaming schedule in a few weeks. It's going to take about another month for that to affect. But I'll let you know when that happens. Yeah. Thanks for watching. See you next time.